It's no secret that us as a society are fully obsessed with all things true crime. Every time you log onto Netflix or Hulu, there's a brand new documentary talking about the latest heinous crime that's occurred. I'm sure at some point every single one of us have consumed some form of true crime media, right? It's almost inescapable in today's society, but have any of us ever stopped to consider how this may be affecting us both as individuals and as a society? Well, today I'd like to discuss just that with you and some of the potentially negative side effects that our consumption of true crime media may be having on our mental health. As an avid listener of true crime myself, I've definitely seen some of these effects in my daily life, and so I'd like to discuss three things with you. The first being the history of how true crime came to be such a popular genre. The second being the egregious gender gap in the marketing of true crime media, and the third being the very real negative impacts that our consumption of true crime media may be having on our mental health. So, to walk you through the history just a little bit, our consumption of true crime media is nothing new. We've been consuming true crime regularly since the 17th century, as the printing press and the criminal justice system were just coming to be right at about the same time. It fell off a little bit after that for being seen as unchristian, but not long after, Jack the Ripper and Lizzie Borden were committing heinous acts that resurfaced our love of true crime. And as Joanna Antoniak states in the Journal of Folklore and Popular Culture, 2016 really was the flagship year for modern true crime media. This is the year that Netflix was releasing documentaries like Making a Murderer and The Keepers, and these documentaries really allowed us to peer into the dark underbelly of society and look at heinous crimes that we saw as anomalous behavior, and it made us feel a little bit better about ourselves, and so that's why it became such a popular genre. Now that we've discussed the history just a little bit, I'd like to discuss how true crime is disproportionately marketed with regards to gender. True crime is one of the most popular genres of entertainment in America. In fact, 50% of Americans say they enjoy listening to true crime, and 1 in 3 Americans say that they listen to it at least once a week. However, the Cleveland Clinic clearly states that it is disproportionately targeted towards women. As women, we are more likely to be victims of violent crimes ourselves, and so we feel the need to consume true crime media as a means to protect ourselves. However, this intention and the actual effects that we receive from consuming this media may not be entirely homogenous. Now that we've talked a little bit about the history and the egregious gender gap that exists in who is listening to true crime, I want to talk a little bit about the negative mental health effects that it can have on us. So the prevalence of superhero stories in American society has made it so that there is this idea of vigilantism being a good thing. We think that putting yourself in danger to deter the bad guy is a good thing. And so our consumption of true crime media may actually make us more likely to put ourselves in danger in an effort to stop the bad guy. And as an avid consumer of true crime media myself, I found myself being anxious and a little bit paranoid. I go to work before the sun comes up and I'm running to my car, clutching my keys, and it's definitely because of these stories that I'm consuming on a daily basis. And all of these are documented effects that consistently consuming true crime media can have on us. The National Institute of Health even states that consistently consuming true crime media can increase your rates of anxiety, paranoia, and can even numb your normal responses of empathy and compassion towards people who are victims of crime. I appreciate your time and thank you for letting me tell you a little bit about the history of true crime media, the gender gap that exists in who is consuming true crime, and also the negative mental health impacts that this can have on us as we continue to consume true crime. So next time you're about to put on a Netflix documentary about Scott Peterson or something like that, just ask yourself, is this menial entertainment worth putting my mental health at risk?